because a watch is high-end or expensive, does that mean it's actually any good? No, it is 2:01 p.m. Let's get down to business. Now guys, I've been on YouTube for a while now talking about watches, and I've made numerous episodes talking about how price doesn't necessarily correlate to, the fun or enjoyment you'll have with a watch, and it also doesn't necessarily indicate the quality of a watch, right? There's very expensive watches that are absolutely ugly pieces of garbage, and there's affordable watches that happen to be very, very good and fun to wear and things that you'll enjoy. So yeah, the price tag doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the watch or how much fun you will have with it. Now, every year, pretty much, every week, people ask me about expensive watchmakers that are actually bad. And I send them some episodes that I've made in the past. But recently, in 2023, I've learned of a couple that I didn't know existed and that I think I should share with you because these are garbage and they're very expensive. Very expensive garbage. Where have we heard that before? Well, I'm going to get two of them just like right out of the way because I mention them all the time when I'm talking about very expensive garbage. Mille and Hublot, right? You blow your money away when you buy a Hublot. They're just terrible, terrible, ugly watches that lose their value faster than Cartier, which is unfortunate because Cartier actually makes very good watches. It just seems to be their value retention is not great. Mille, some of their watches may look like high-tech, fancy schmancy, but again, they're toys. If you want to see my breakdown of Hublot, click the episode that's going to pop up in one of these corners. I don't know where it is. But you're going to see that they have very, very few watches that would ever be considered anything but Ben 10. Like what do I have to say about this watch? I think the watch is proving my point. This is literally what Ben 10 would wear when he goes ahead and transforms into a dumpster fire. So we've complained about Hublot, we've complained about Mille. I don't need to waste any more time on that, but there's three more very expensive watchmakers that you may have never heard of, and they are blasphemous. First up, Corum, okay? The Corum bubble, that's like their most famous watch series. It literally looks like something you would get out of one of those like bubble capsules where you put like the coins in and it comes out, and it's like, I don't know, it's a mix between one of those like bubble capsules and then like a Pog slammer. It's like the artwork that are on the dials aren't good. Like, it's not like impressive, it's not dynamic in any way. The only thing that adds to any form of dynamic with these bubble watches is the like magnification and distortion that you get from the bubble crystal. But they do make other watches that have nothing to do with the bubble series, and when you look at them, they're still equally just atrocious and disgusting, and you wonder why these are as expensive as they are. But whenever you look at these watches, like Google Corum watch, click shopping, and you'll see a lot of these are around the $20,000 mark or higher. And where is that money going? Like, when I see these watches, I don't see $20,000 worth of watch. Now, what's interesting is they do have the Corum Lab Limited Edition 333, and when you look at it, it's essentially just a rip-off Mille. So we're kind of killing two birds with one stone here, Mille and Corum. Just both disgusting. They should have nothing to do with each other than the fact that they're expensive and disgusting. Just get out. But I've actually mentioned Corum on this channel before, so how about two more high-end watchmakers that I pretty much guarantee you've never heard of? Montegrappa. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Montegrappa is a watchmaker that is exorbitantly expensive. I'm talking about over $50,000 expensive. And these are some of the most hideous watches I have ever seen. Specifically, this Montegrappa Chaotic Treasures Sylvester Stallone. Now, it's funny how cyclical this episode is because we've mentioned Corum and their watch that looks like a Mille. We've mentioned Mille. One of the most hideous watches Mille has ever made is their collaboration with Sylvester Stallone with that Ben 10 watch. So it's funny that Montegrappa also has one of the most hideous watches I've ever seen, and it's a collaboration with Sylvester Stallone. So So maybe all of this just gets distilled down to the fact that Sylvester Stallone should not have anything to do with wristwatches. Because this Montegrappa is Montegrappa. Whatever, I'm just trying to cheer myself up here, guys. Zooming in on this watch, we see a case that has, well, it kind of looks just like, I guess, like a Ed Hardy shirt, but on a watch, which makes sense because you think of Sylvester Stallone, he's the type of dude that would wear that stuff. But how is this watch over $50,000? Like, okay, maybe it's because that's all gold, but is that really $50,000 worth of gold? I don't think so. And then you look at the dial, and it has like a very basic guilloche dial with Roman numerals where it looks like the kerning is all off. Like, it looks like the spacing is all off on the Roman numerals. Some of them are way too close together. Some of them are almost touching, and some are very spaced apart. And then probably the worst part of this watch is that date window. Look at the date window. It's circular, and the 12 isn't even aligned. So this is horrific. You know what? That's going to be the title of this episode. Horrific horology. And then last but not least, we're going to look at another watchmaker, a high-end watchmaker, excuse me, that I've never heard of until doing research for this episode. Meyers watches, okay? This watchmaker has watches that, again, this is a totally, like, cyclical, intertwined episode. Some of these watches look like Hublots with their kind of industrial circular bezel with rivets in it. And then some of them look like a biblical angel. Like, see, it looks like a biblically accurate angel with these, like, just made up of a bunch of circles and eyeballs. Like, this watch, the oh my God. The Meyers, Milady, I am a Reddit moderator. Milady, Genshin Impact. I actually love Genshin Impact. This Meyers Milady costs over $36,000, dude. What the heck? And it's an ETA quartz. This is terrible, dude. This should come with a fedora. Then we have the Lady Beach Diamond I Love You, where it just has some, like, little dangly bits that say I love you. Sapphire crystal power drive, 23 jewel guilloche diamond in it. This is just terrible. I don't know anybody who would ever wear one of these. Like, I think even really, really rich people and their wives, like, wouldn't wear these. Like, a dude who has the money to spend on one of these watches would just get his wife, like, a Rolex or an Omega or something, not this. But again, then you have things like the Fly Racer chronograph, and this literally just looks like a Hublot. It's around $6,000, but it looks exactly like a Hublot. So I get it, guys. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and my opinion usually doesn't matter at all, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But I think you should know that just because something is very, very expensive doesn't mean it's very, very good. And just because something is relatively affordable doesn't mean it's crap. On the flip side, just because something's affordable doesn't necessarily mean it's a good watch. I mean, look at Vostok. They're dirt cheap and they suck. I just lost a bunch of subscribers saying that. Oh well. But I wanted to make this episode because I get a ton of questions, like, all the time.
What expensive watches are actually bad?
Well, these ones. These ones. They're hideous. They look like they're worse than Cracker Jack toys. It's terrible. And I wanted to make this because I had never heard of Montegrappa or Meyers watches. So, yeah, there you go. Hublot, Richard Mille, Corum, Montegrappa, and Meyers. Face. You all suck. So there you have it, guys. Another T3 episode in the books. Hey, if you enjoyed this one, check out this other episode about this Vermont state trooper who allegedly stole a solid gold Rolex. Got to clip it. $800 online, but took it to a local jeweler, and the jeweler said it was, quote, a good quality counterfeit. So which one is it? All right, is it a $14,000 watch, or was it just some counterfeit? All right, guys, I will catch you on the next one. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman. At the time teller, always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it.